just because you're always going to have people out there who are going to judge you no matter
Mhm.
what you do. So why not do what makes you happy? And that's kind of, that was my realization when I started. People are
Yeah.
going to judge me no matter what I say, no matter what I do. So I may as well just be authentic to myself and do what makes me happy and what I'm passionate about.
What is up? What is up, Facebook? Yeah, and Brand Talk Live. I think this is episode three of the live. It says it's setting it up, so I hope we're actually officially live. But the last couple of times I tried to do it, it said I was live, and then like I had this delay. So I'm actually just gonna start talking right now. But I am officially on with the Brittany-Nicole. I say an influencer's influencer. But before I get into all the introductions and who she is and whatnot, let me first pay the bills. So, sponsored, Brand Talk Live. Taste of Motorsports is probably one of the top events in Portland. And if you are in Portland right now, I know you guys can't do shit anyway. So this is something you guys actually want to do. But even if you weren't in COVID, you would want to do this, right? It is gourmet food. It is exotic cars. If you have an exotic car or like a race car, you can actually go on the track itself. And if you use code Lifestylest, you get 15% off your ticket. So there's like limited supply. And it's definitely, if for some reason they can't have it, they're going to give you a refund, but it is on August 30th. So mark your calendars. It's about a month away. I will be there live because I'm always live. I will be there hosting, doing my thing, red carpet. I don't know. So I'll be there kicking it. But without further ado, let's get started. Brittany, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on here today.
Yeah, no, this is like kind of like nostalgic, kind of like a throwback. I'm feeling good about this, feeling good about having you on. And so I titled this Influencers, and I'll go into why I titled it later on. But before that, kind of introduce who you are, let the people know, what's going on in your life.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. So I'm Brittany-Nicole. You can see me on Instagram at I'm Brittany-Nicole. I'm a blogger in the Portland, Oregon area. I've been blogging since about 2016. I started with just strictly fashion and kind of moved more into skincare and lifestyle as life happened. And I got pregnant and had a baby, and now I'm buying a house. So you're kind of what you influence about changes as life kind of changes. So right now my niche is more the mom fashion lifestyle blogger.
Yeah, no, and that was kind of the reason why I came with the name. I think I'm, relatively clever. But when I said influencers, part of the reason I named it that was because you aren't new in the game, right? You've done it since 2016. So take us back to 2015, 2016 when you decided, like, what was going through your head when you're like, okay, I am now going to become an influencer, and what were you thinking you were going to get out of that when you were beginning?
Yeah, so I think it started for me even before that. When I was in college, I loved watching the OG fashion bloggers on Instagram. So Ami Song from Song of Style, Chriselle Lim from the Chriselle Factor, Chiara Kuragni, the Blonde Salad. I loved all those big brands. I love what they were doing. I love how they were creating a community based on just sharing things naturally that they love.
Mm-hmm.
So I always loved fashion in general. So I knew I kind of wanted to try it at some point, but I definitely let fear hold me back a little bit. And I was worried people would judge, or you have fear whenever you start something new. So It took me until 2016 to actually launch my blog. And at the time I launched it because I had a lot of free time. I found myself just sitting on the couch kind of a lot and watching TV. I was like, I need to do something with my life. So why not do something I'm passionate about? And that's kind of why I started back in 2016. I first started launching my blog and my Instagram.
Okay.
And kind of took a dabble in YouTube and a couple other platforms, but now really mostly active just on my blog, Pinterest, and Instagram.
So talk about overcoming the fear. 'Cause I feel like that's something everyone, goes through, right? And I know, like, for me, people think like, oh, you can just like talk in front of the camera and it's comfortable. I'm like, no, it wasn't always the case. I've definitely, worked that muscle. But I feel like whenever anyone's starting, like that first photo shoot, those first couple of times of putting yourself out there, like that is extremely vulnerable. So how did you get over the hump? And compare it like when you started to how you feel about it now? Because again, you were kind of built that muscle. Is it a lot easier for you? Or is it still kind of like uneasy feeling or kind of hard to put yourself out there like that sometimes?
Yeah. Back when I started, it was definitely definitely really nerve-wracking to pose or to take photos of yourself, especially in public where people are watching you. So I think for me, the reason I pushed past the fear, and I've done a whole podcast on this, is just because you're always going to have people out there who are going to judge you no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you do. So why not do what makes you happy? And that's kind of, that was my realization when I started. People are going to judge me no matter what I say, no matter what I do. So I may as well just be authentic to myself and do what makes me happy and what I'm passionate about. And that's kind of how I started. I work in healthcare IT. That's my day job.
Okay.
And I have done a lot of public speaking through that. And I've taken a lot of public speaking courses. So talking in front of the camera has gotten a little bit easier for me, but I still I'm sweating right now. Like I'm still nervous.
Well, it is like 100 degrees in Portland today though, right?
I know, and I don't have AC, so
there you go. So we'll blame it on the AC. We won't blame it on you being nervous. You're a professional at this point. No, that makes a lot of sense. So, okay, so now you jump in because a lot of people are probably going to watch this. They might be wanting to be influencers, or might because of COVID now they're getting pushed into their side hustle is now becoming a main hustle. People are putting their stuff out there and creating more content. What was your end game, or did you even have one? Like when you started, were you like, okay, I want to work with these brands, I want to do this? Is it just like an outlet? Because a lot of times, you go, OG blogs like before that, it was like almost like an outlet, right? Because it wasn't, that name didn't really even exist, which is now is so crazy because it's so common. But influencers really didn't exist until maybe 2017, 2018, as we know it now, right? So what were you thinking? What was what were you trying to get out of it?
I think for me, it was just a hobby at first, just something to do with my free time. And of course I had the idea of like, how cool would it be to work with Chanel and Gucci and like all these big brands. And I think when I went into it, I didn't really understand what the business of influencing or social media actually looked like. And so I was kind of just all over the place, spinning my wheels just here and there. I really had a hard time narrowing down my niche. Kind of getting a direction for my blog and my purpose. That was really hard for me, actually. I just didn't understand the business. I think now there's so many resources out there to help you in the business aspect of influencing or just small business in general. But yeah, I definitely feel like for me, it was more of a hobby. And my end game at the time was like, be a big fashion blogger and like super famous. And now my end game is just to provide value to folks, to build a community, to inspire other people to kind of overcome their fears and do what makes them happy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like, that's value is the number one thing. But I talk a lot about, especially with small businesses or large businesses for that matter, posting with intention, posting for profit, right? And being intentional about what you're doing. So you said that was a hard thing for you to overcome. How did you finally narrow down like your audience, who you want to focus in? Like, because I feel like with influencers, whether you just do it, whether you're a business, a lot of times we want to be everything to everybody. And you know what I mean? And we feel like if we go in a specific direction, like we're cutting people off, which actually I find to be the opposite, right? Because you're really catering to a specific audience. But that doesn't mean everyone else won't like you, but it's just like where your sweet spot is. So how are you able to get to that point where you're like, okay, I've been spinning my wheels now maybe for 12 months, whatever it was. Now I want to focus. I'm actually going to turn this into maybe a career or, so just I want to provide more value. How do I do that? What was it for you that got you like focused?
Well, if we're about to spill the tea, let's spill the tea. I think
that wasn't actually even my intention, but that is a good alley-oop, so go ahead and go.
Segue.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was recognizing what my weakness was, which was finding my purpose and putting myself in a direction to get to my end goal and reaching out to you as a mentor.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time to people in the back. I want to make sure everyone is hearing you. Say it one more time.
To be my mentor.
Which, I got to admit on my side of it, incredibly humbling when that happens, right? Like for me, like I'm busy, whatever. Whenever someone reaches out to me, because I've had mentors, right? In other aspects of business. So whenever someone reaches out to me at any level, I'm always like, yeah, I'll definitely like do whatever I can as long as I have time. And if they're serious. And to your point, I think the conversation we had, and I'm pretty transparent, like you were like, serious, let me meet it. And I feel like I'm so big on creating value that I want to make sure if someone's going to, work with me or intern or whatever, I want to make sure that I'm delivering value to them while they're delivering value to me. And it's almost like I look at it like in reverse. I'm like, okay, they know why they're coming to me. I'm like, how can I give them as much value as possible to make it worthwhile? And so Yeah, so that happened, and then was it a fashion? You met me at a fashion show, right? Wasn't it a fashion show?
Yeah, I found you on Instagram somehow, probably through hashtags or location, and was following you. We were following each other for a while, and then I saw you at, I think, Fashion Next.
Okay, yeah.
And introduced myself, and then I think I reached out to you a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't even remember. It could have been a year for all I know.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, and just I think what I just said, I've been following you for a while. I really respect what you do. I'd love to learn from you. And then I think I also said, like, I'll do whatever you need. Like, I'll get your coffee, I'll make your copies. I don't care. Like, I want to learn. And I think that's kind of how we started out working together.
I think so. That's a good point, because I feel like, again, like for me, maybe I always try to see how I can bring value. I will say that when someone reaches out to you, like now I'm like, I'll verify if they're serious or not, but also like, how are you, like if I'm taking my time, because I do really am, I'm going to invest in whoever I'm working with, right? What do you bring to the table? Because it's like, I'm sacrificing all this time, right? And you're reaching out to me, which means like you obviously inherently see the value that I'm going to provide. So I think it's important where you were like able to humble yourself and be like, hey, I'm willing to help, whatever. I feel like so many times people have the idea that they're almost owed something, or it's like an expectation, or they don't come with value first in their proposition. They're just like, hey, mentor me. And that's it. And they're just like, yo, just mentor me, as if like I'm supposed to stop what I'm doing, stop my business and whatever. And so I feel like that's important for people to actually see, like, okay, how can I bring value to this person that I'm trying to reach out to?
Well, I don't know if you experience this, but I get just Instagram DMs from people asking for tips all the time. I'm like, man, I charge for this. Like, what are you doing?
Right. No. So, okay. So talk about that. Actually, I want to get to that later on. So don't let me forget, as far as like pricing models as an influencer. So you reached out to me, and then you kind of honed in. We were going back to how'd you hone in on your skills. So you really figured out like, okay, I can't be everything to everybody. What was that like? What was the results like? How did that change? Just your process from going from, like I said, kind of like posting for whatever to like actually posting for profit. Like, walk us through that process for people that don't know how that changed you even as an influencer.
Well, it's kind of freeing, because before you really can narrow yourself down as an influencer, at least in my experience, I was accepting all kinds of offers, all kinds of collaborations that didn't really make any sense for my brand. And working with you, or working with someone who can really help you to narrow down and find your purpose and find your focus, can help you free up time that you would be spending on things that aren't going to grow your brand or your business. And you can refocus that energy on things that really are going to help your brand. So I was able, sorry, my daughter just woke up from her nap and she's freaking out.
No worry. Hey, this is real. This is real.
So yeah, it just really allows you to focus your energy on things that are actually going to benefit you and grow your brand. And I think that for me was the biggest thing. I was able to learn how to say no to things that weren't going to make sense for me and for my followers. Really, that's the end goal, is to make sure you're providing value to the people who follow you.
Sorry, I just went live. I just accidentally did something on my phone. But no, I feel like that's so important. Like, I tell people all the time, like, when you say yes to something, understand what you're saying no to. And we've said this, right? Like, because there's not even just the idea of, you can't do everything at once. So what is going to be your focus? And I feel like when you focus, it actually allows you to expand much further, like much faster, because you what you're doing and you're going after things. But also, like, there's the opportunity cost, right? Like, if you're doing so much other shit, even if it's kind of in the direction, if you could be doing something else, is going to move you forward much faster. You know what I mean? So that's actually going to limit you if you say yes to something else. So I'm sure some people are going to want to know, like, okay, so you reach out to me, I say yes. You have to be nice, because this is my live, but you can be as transparent as possible. What was it like working for me mentoring you, whatever? Like, what was that experience like for you? The good and the bad. There probably wasn't that much bad, but mostly the good. What was that like?
Mostly the good. I think it was fun. I had a lot of fun learning from you. I think you gave me things to think about that I hadn't really thought about before, and just tools and access to someone's brain who's in the same kind of industry but who thinks differently than I do. And that's huge. That's so much value because we only know our own perception, right? So it's hard to think outside of the way you already think about your business. So having someone else to mirror things off of or provide a different perspective is huge. So that was great. I think that was the biggest benefit. And then also being able to, you know, I attended a lot of events with you and helped, you know, with the fashion shows and set things up. Just kind of seeing behind the scenes of how your business ran, and seeing also that you are the same person when you're right in front of the camera as you are behind the scenes. Like you're the same person. That was huge for me because I felt like before I was trying to put on like a face for Instagram or trying to have a certain personality, when it's like you just got to be who you are. Like you have to be authentic. And just you know, just seeing a different perspective. I think some of the things that I did for you, editing blog posts or proofreading things, it just helps you hone in on skills you already have, helps you learn new skills. So it was incredibly valuable. I highly recommend it for people starting out to intern with someone or find a mentor.
Yeah, no, I know, like for me too, it's like the greatest thing is like, you know, as you're teaching something, you're like learning it too. Like you're learning it again and you're like reiterating it. And for me, it was the same thing. Like I'm like, for people that don't know, like I'm pretty transparent. So how I talk is like how I talk, how I act at events, front of house, back of house, fashion shows before, like if you know me, like I'm the same. There really isn't like an on off or whatever. I mean, there is an on as far as like at events. I know I need to turn it up maybe another notch. But just to have someone again to bounce ideas off, to have me even have a different perspective, and to have someone that's close to you to be like, okay, what's your idea? What's your thought process on what I'm trying to do? But I know like for me, it was super fun. So we did some shit that I would have never been able to do, like the magazine, like, you know what I mean? Just going to events and having another person there, like, you know, optics, it looks better. So that was super fun. So now you've done that, you honed in on your audience, you know who you are as a brand. What's it like being an influencer? Like, what is that like? Like, how do you go about like getting gigs? Like, who are you working with? Like, how does that even work? Like, for those that don't know, like explain the life of an influencer.
Yeah. Well, I think what you see on Instagram or on social media is such a small percent of what it actually is to be active on social media or to use social media as your business. I mean, yeah, it takes me like 30 minutes to plan and post on Instagram, but then it's a full-time job outside of that. So it's like you're doing so much work. You're content batching, you're shooting, you're editing. Social influencers are photographers, they're writers, they're editors. There's so many different things, all wrapped up in this one influencer word. So the presence on social media is such a small part of it. I think the majority of your day is reaching out to brands to collab, emailing back and forth, trying to collaborate with folks or negotiate contracts, and then planning out what you're going to talk about in your blog or what you want to cover in the next quarter or the next month, the next week, that kind of thing. So it's always it's very busy. I will say you probably work more. I definitely work more on my blog than I could work on my full-time day job. Like there's just so much stuff. It's never ending. I think for me right now with COVID, healthcare kind of blew up. So I'm focusing more on my healthcare role. But before, my life would be, you know, get up at 6 a.m. and write for 2 hours and then get my daughter up and then write as she's playing in the morning. And then I would schedule my Instagram post based on the research that I've done for what's the best time to post. And then I would spend 2 hours engaging on Instagram. And then after she goes to bed, you're reaching out to brands. So it's kind of, there's a lot you don't see. People have a very skewed misperception.
I was just talking about this, like it's a job. I was literally just had Nicole and Denise Johansson on last week. And we were talking about like, look, and one reason I never considered myself an influencer, people had reached out to me, but it wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't something I wanted to do. Like I had a product separately and I realized I had influence, but I was saying like, look, you aren't just getting access to the influencer's audience. Like they're providing creative direction. They're providing strategy. They have to, like you said, shoot. I jokingly said I should have dated a photographer, and now I still might actually do that. A photographer, videographer. You know what I mean? That might be the best business investment there is, but it's like you need to shoot it, and then you also need to, you know, post it and everything else. So it's like it is a full-time job. Even for me, like the things I did as I transitioned my business from being like someone that had influence in wardrobe branding to like, okay, I actually understand strategy innately. Like I actually know how, that's why I'm sitting in front of you, but I had to remove myself from the person that they saw on Instagram. Like that's why, that was the reason why I had to rebrand, because it's like, they think that they're just going to get Brandon Gass and the Lifestylest in addition to strategy and all these other things. And I'm like, hold up, like, let me actually separate this out, because if you want strategy, that's one component. If you want strategy, creative direction, and video, that's another component. If you want me to star in it or be in the video, like then that's also another aspect you pay me as a personality. And so I had to actually navigate that and rebrand, which I think is perfect. Talk about pricing. So as an influencer, there are all these other aspects, and essentially you're a business, right? How do you come up with your pricing? How do you dictate your pricing? How stern are you on your pricing, depending on the brand? Like walk me through that process.
Well, I mean, you can Google all kinds of pricing equations out there, and there are tons. People have these difficult equations that come up with how much you should be charging. But for me, what I think you have to go based on the value that you provide and the time you're putting into it. So if you are using blogging as a full-time gig, you need to figure out what your end salary is, what you want to make at the end of the year, and kind of break it down by that. So how much, sorry, I'm getting a phone call, how many blog posts do you need to do, and what do those prices need to be for you to meet that salary goal at the
end? So you like reverse engineer it?
What's that?
You reverse engineer. You figure out what you want your annual, and then you're like, okay, I need to do this many. If I'm doing this many posts a month, I need on average get this, whatever.
Right. And you have to factor in taxes and all those costs and things like that. And then I also think, you can't start out as a blogger and be like, I want to make $100,000 a year and provide not as much value as someone who's been doing it for 5 years and wants to make $100,000 a year. It's like, you have to make sure you're providing that value. And I think a lot of people feel like just doing the work means they have the value, but you have to think of it from the brand's perspective and what they're going to get out of it. Just doing the work and just posting it doesn't mean it's valuable. You actually have to make sure you're providing that level of value that equates to that amount of money, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. The value exchange has to be equal. So talk about that. How do you temper brands' expectations, right? Because some brands get it. I feel like the larger brands get it. I know like a lot of local Portland influencers, if you will, they don't really work with a lot of maybe Portland brands. And I think are a lot of Portland-based companies. And part of that is because the smaller companies that I'm aware of, like, they're kind of late to the game. Like I literally just posted something on Instagram today. Like Gary Vee said, social media is like irrelevancy. And he said this in 2013, right? So you now have companies because of COVID, even pre-COVID, that were scrambling like, oh shit, I need to be on Instagram. Oh, now I need to move to TikTok. Oh, whatever. And they expect like you're going to post one time as an influencer and they're going to get 25, new customers.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate that with them? How do you temper their expectations? I mean, obviously when you're talking about value exchange, how do you go about that?
Well, it's hard because I think a lot of brands don't initially have the budget for these long-term collabs, which are always going to be the most lucrative for them. Because it's exposure over time that draws in new customers. It's not exposure one time. If I were to say, oh, I love this backpack one time and then never talk about it again, my followers would be like, nah, does she though? Like, or is she just kidding? So it's the long term.
Well, I know a couple years ago, I saw about pretty much every single influencer doing a facial post about every other week, and they would literally do about 5 different facial posts or masks, if you will. But no, to me, again, talk about like, I think it makes sense, like having long-term relationships as opposed to one and done, to see like if you kind of get a spike, unless you have like a special event. But if you're doing like, you know what I mean? Like it needs to be long-term. So I'll let you finish on that.
Yeah. Or like a product launch. I mean, things like that. It sometimes makes sense for a one-time, one and done collab, but the most lucrative collaborations are going to be the ones that you build a partnership with over time, because you build trust with your followers that you actually use this brand, you actually like them, they're actually worth spending money on. So a lot of small companies, unfortunately, don't have the budget for that, or if they do, they don't want to spend it necessarily on influencers. But I think right now, the way social media is changing, the influencers are really what's going to bring in the most amount of money. Like, yeah, you can pay for ads, or you could pay for something authentic with an influencer.
Yeah.
So for me, when folks reach out to me, usually it's in Instagram. Usually that's where it starts, as a DM on Instagram, and they're like, "Hey, we want to send you this product. I'll come back and I'll research the brand and I'll research the product, and then if I want to work with them, if they align with my ethos and my brand, I'll say, hey, you know what, this is what I can provide for you that I think would be really helpful. And then I'll give a price. This is what I would charge for something like that. If you're still interested, let me know. And I think a lot of folks are scared to do that. They're afraid to come back to a proposal with a cash price.
Yeah.
And I think you just got to realize you're not going to pay your bills with that backpack. So you have to kind of get over that fear. All you can do is ask. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah. So how often do you say actually no to a brand? Because that brings up a good point I was talking about last week. It's like, again, it has to be a win-win relationship, right? It's like reciprocal. Like you have to, it has to be a brand that fits your ethos. You already mentioned that, right? Where you actually align with their product. So that is believable when you actually are allowing your audience to be being promoted essentially you're essentially selling your audience, right? That's what it is. But it needs to be something that actually makes sense. And also people you don't want to say yes to everything because you don't want to step over pennies to get to, you don't want to step over dollars to get to pennies. So how often do you say no for brands? I know I'm sure you're getting hit up all the time.
I honestly say no more than I say yes. I probably say yes 25% of the time. Because, I don't want to just sell a product, even if I'm going to get paid a certain amount of money or my rate to sell something that doesn't really make sense. I would rather not take that money because I don't want to lose trust from my followers, or I don't want to lose followers because they're like, oh, she's posting this weird stuff now. Like, I don't want to see that. So I probably say yes 25% of the time.
So you talked about how the landscape has changed, right? I mean, obviously pre-COVID, post-COVID, things are changing, working with influencers of all levels. What are you seeing? What are you expecting? I know, I think I've seen you on TikTok now more frequently than before. Like, how are you adapting yourself as an influencer? And how do you see just the landscape of social media overall? Like, where is it going? Where is it headed?
Well, I think it's always going to be the next big thing. Like now we're in TikTok, and I heard there's another platform that's like TikTok that's US based that's coming soon. I don't know. It's like these young kids,
Yeah.
But I think pre-COVID, there were a lot more opportunities than there are now, and it's transitioned more to what you can do in home or lifestyle related products. Those are huge. I've gotten a lot of collab requests for lifestyle products, more so than fashion right now during this time.
Well, no one's buying clothes. I mean, if people are buying pajamas, and that, I mean, other than that, like really, no one's really shopping some people are, but most people aren't shopping the same as they were before.
Yeah, they're not shopping the sales. So I haven't been really sharing sales, that kind of thing. I think fitness and wellness is really big right now. Like I'm doing a big collab with a brand that's coming up this week to share.
Can you give us the insight? Like, can we know? Is this exclusive?
So
this is a Brand Talk Live exclusive from Imbrittanynicole.
Here's the tea. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a Toyota partner. I partner with Toyota. I've done some collaborations with them in the past, and they're doing a virtual yoga session this Friday at 9 a.m. So you can join me live on Instagram if you want to do some virtual yoga, just to kind of get everyone in the wellness mind. And self-care is really important right now. So
you talked about earlier how your brand has shifted, right? I mean, when I met you, you were in a relationship, but you didn't have your daughter yet, right? So you didn't have a kid yet. And how has your fan base or your audience transitioned with you? And did you get a lot of pushback as you transitioned, or what was that like actually kind of like having your brand evolve? Like, was that something like that? Was that a difficult climb to do that?
A little bit. I definitely lost followers when I started transitioning into some parenting stuff and some more lifestyle stuff and less fashion. But I think also as I've aged, so have my followers. So I have followers also who are getting married or having kids or starting corporate careers, those types of things. So as we age, so do our followers. And I think we just have to be aware of that. Like we're not going to be catering to 20 and 21-year-olds forever. Like when we're 60, like that doesn't make any sense. So you have to realize as you age, so does the demographics of your followers, and not be afraid to transition your brand just because it might be different from what you started at. So it was pretty easy for me. The only time I ever got any pushback was actually in the last few months. I started sharing a lot more social justice information on my page. So my husband and daughter are Black, and it just has been really important to me to share kind of what's going on in the world and my point of view. And I have been getting some nasty comments about that. Just people saying you shouldn't share stuff like this because no one cares. And I think you gotta just push that aside, not internalize it, and do what's important to you anyway. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, I always say like your authenticity, who you are, is your secret sauce, right? And I mean, you'll lose some potentially, but you'll gain some as well, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, as long as you're authentic to who you are, like, I feel like you can live with that. Like, the worst thing I ever want to do is like become successful as like a caricature or not myself, right? Like, I wanted to, like, and that's how I think how I am all the time. 5 years from now, what is your brand? What is I'm Imbrittanynicole? Is it gonna be another transition? Is it gonna be the Imbrittanynicole in 5 years? So we had the B list, now it's I'm Imbrittanynicole. Like, what are you doing in 5 years as an influencer? Do you have your own show? I know you didn't know, you talked about doing some podcasts. So like, where are you seeing yourself in the next few years?
You know, podcasting was fun. I started out and did a few of those and then realized that just listening to myself talk or just talking was not my thing. I am not a talker. I don't like to listen to podcasts. So I don't know why I ever thought it was a good idea for me to do a podcast.
See, I love hearing myself talk, believe it or not. Like, I love it.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I know it was kind of like out of left field, but I don't mind it. And so, you know, I just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think video is going to be big.
Yeah. Video is big.
Video is big. I think TikTok is a great platform, but I also think you need something a little bit more permanent, which YouTube provides, or even just doing video for your blog or your website. I think at the end of the day, you want something that's permanent, that you can always monetize, and that's always going to be a website, because you own that, you pay for that. So Instagram could go away tomorrow, and where would people be if they just focus on Instagram? I think for me, it's building my website, building myself as a brand. As my daughter ages, and you know, I mentioned I just bought a house, so we're moving into a house soon.
Congratulations.
I kind of want to just transition more into video, more lifestyle, and then hopefully, I think more travel. Like as COVID stuff opens up again, I was really starting to focus on travel back in the fall, and I had to put that aside. So.
Yeah, as we all have. I think that's two important things you mentioned. Lean into what your strengths are, right? Like, I tell everyone, like, you're gonna scale depending on what you're good at, because you need so much content. You need to be consistent with whatever you're producing, but also owning your audience. Because again, Facebook unlikely, but if something happens, it can go down. I know people were having issues thinking TikTok was going to get canceled domestically. So whatever you do, like you still need that website. Like you still need someplace, that email list, whatever it is, you still need some place to bring it back that you actually can dictate and direct. Because if not, you know what I mean, you're kind of screwed.
Exactly.
So, no, keep going.
Oh, I was just gonna say, no, you're absolutely right. You need something that you own and that's permanent. You don't want all of your cookies and your eggs in one little basket that is not under your control.
So you know me more than most people. You know that I have a shit ton of ideas. Like literally my phone still. I have like the magazine we did, I had that idea probably a year before we met, and then we did it, and then we did like 2 in a couple months. And so so today I had this idea that I wanted to start this thing called branded behavior, and it's just going to be like rapid fire questions. And so you are the guinea pig. I'm going to do it today. And it's going to be like an either or question. And then some I'll have you go in depth with. Okay. So we'll start easy. Fashion related. Okay. So dress or jumpsuit?
Dress.
Necklace or bracelet?
Necklace.
Hat or scarf?
Hat.
What is your favorite outfit?
My favorite outfit, probably my go-to is a pair of mom jeans and either a crop top or a, what do you call those, bodysuit, and a pair of slides. Okay,
so what is as a styling out as a stylist, what would you say, what is the top 5 pieces you must have?
Must have, I guess it depends on your lifestyle. So like if you work in corporate, like that's different, but for the everyday person, I think a nice fitting pair of jeans that do not have any holes, nice fitting pair of jeans, a pair of black pumps.
Okay.
I would
Not
say
nude, black over nude.
I'd say black if you work in an office too. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Versatility.
Versatility and a blazer. Probably a nice button-up white blouse.
Okay.
And some kind of statement piece, like either some kind of a branded purse or accessory.
Zara or H&M?
Zara.
For sure. Favorite travel destination once post-COVID? Where do you want to go if you can go one place?
Well, I was supposed to go to Thailand this year, so I'm going to have to say Thailand.
There you go. All right. Well, Brittany-Nicole, I think that's it. Let them know where to find you, what's going on next, the videos, the TikToks. How are you liking TikTok? Are you like all in on TikTok? Like, are you doing the dances? What is your thing with TikTok?
Yeah, I have not done a dance yet. Okay. I'm not very good at dancing, so.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were a dancer.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I did like contemporary when I was in high school, but not like shaking it and that kind of stuff. Like that's not.
Not like not okay.
So I don't know. I love watching TikTok. I think there's a ton of creative young people out there, and even
it's like the rabbit hole. It's like you just get sucked in. Like I was
really
watching like a couple of dances, and what I do like about TikTok is once you like pick a particular song or a particular like competition, whatever. Like they start at the top, like the good ones with the views. But if you go down a little bit and see the ones that are so bad, especially the dances that are so bad, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, that is what gets me.
Yeah, I mean it's fun. There's a lot of creativity out there on TikTok, but I feel like it's just not. I don't know, maybe I haven't figured out how to use it best for my brand. Maybe that's probably more what it is, but I haven't quite figured TikTok out. Yeah. I only have 40 followers, so if any of y'all want to follow me on TikTok,
there you go. Nice. Shout out. Yeah, plug away.
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. TikTok and Instagram, I'm Brittany-Nicole. Pinterest and all other platforms is still the B-List. And then my website, of course, is thebelistblog.com.
Awesome. I think on TikTok, I'm official lifestylist.
Oh, official.
Official.
I like it.
The one and only. Well, I appreciate you. You have that Toyota thing coming up. What is that, this week or next week?
This week, Friday, 9 a.m., virtual yoga.
Friday, 9 a.m. Check her out. I just announced earlier, Taste of Motorsports, August 30th. Gray Magazine. I'm going to be hosting some events with them called Drunk on Design. More details. They put it out today, so I can now actually talk about it a little bit more details to come. I'm going to be hosting like a 3-part series. And then this Wednesday, I'm on with my guy from Seattle, Drew, Seattle Polo, and a couple other events. So, Brittany Day-Ood, or however you say it, appreciate you. Stay healthy. Thank you for, handling the health services in the P. I appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime. Anything I can do to help. I don't help patients. I just help providers, but,
Well,
they help.
You help the helpers. Someone has to do
I help the helpers. Yep.
Exactly. All right. Well, I enjoyed talking to you, catching up.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm glad you didn't throw me under the bus too much. And I will talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.